What's up and welcome back to Bardown Talking Hockey, episode number 185, presented by the Barroom Network. It is the home of everything related to the greatest sport in the world, the National Hockey League. My name is Vinny Parisi, and I am still believing the New Jersey Devils can win the Stanley Cup. And this right here, this is Frankie Mueller, and he is the king of all beans. Frank, a Bobby Hall Coyotes jersey.
Yep, signed Coyotes jersey. I don't know if you could see the signature a little bit. By both Hall brothers.
Cool.
Yeah. You like
Absolutely, very cool. When they signed it, they were probably like, fucking Coyotes, what the fuck? Give me a Blues jersey if you're Brett. Give me a Blackhawks jersey if you're Bobby.
It's pretty cool. It's an artifact.
I love the Yotes. I was pissed when they went to Utah. You know that. I'm a huge Yotes guy. When they come back, Tom points out nice background. Yeah, of course. He likes that background a lot. I've had that background before on the Let's Go Devils podcast.
Yeah.
But I hope the Yotes come back. That new ownership group, I'm all in on them. All in on them. Frank, we're not going to divide today's show into three periods. We're going to divide it into two halves, and we're going to do the football or the hockey half and the football half. As we kind of go through the motions here. We'll start with the hockey half. Obviously, the primary focus of this show is the sport of hockey and the National Hockey League. And Frank, you really might get bailed out of it being a freaking show. That's really trending. I mean, you maybe not though.
Say he wouldn't be scoring if it wasn't for me. I'm in his head, so he's scoring.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He knows. He listens.
It has nothing to do with the fact that he had 680 goals when you started spewing this nonsense.
No.
That's how many. That's how crazy it is. This take started for you when it was before the 800th goal. Remember the 800th goal?
Yeah.
The hat trick
against the Hawks.
Yes, and it was like a week or two before that. Because what made me ask you the question was him approaching 800.
Yeah, it's been a while.
So he had to be at like 755 or 754 when we started this whole thing. And then you should have known, but here, yeah, that's how dumb you are. You should have known that the take was cooked when he had a hat trick to get to 800 on the dot against your favorite team at your favorite hockey rink, the Chicago Blackhawks at the United Center. The take was cooked from that moment on.
Well, as a Chicago fan, that stuff always happens to Chicago teams. So at that point, it was just expected it was going to happen that night. Especially when he got one. It was like, all right, here it comes. Like, you just knew it was going to happen.
Yeah. I can't remember if it was 600 or 700 that he scored against the New Jersey Devils.
That I don't
it's
know.
One of the I remember watching 500. I can't remember who they were playing for.
They were showing like his 100th career goal, his 200th career goal. I feel.
Oh yeah.
Like I feel like I don't know why 600 is screaming Devils.
I think because I was in Michigan. I was making a visit to some family that we have in Michigan, and I was watching the game there, and they were playing each other. It was a day game. And that night, I went to the Little Caesars Arena and saw the Calgary Flames play the Detroit Red Wings. So, that's just a memory I have in my head of Ovechkin scoring because Damon Severson won it in overtime for the Devils in that game. But I can't remember if it was 7. I remember all these little ass details about the day.
It was against the Jets,
so it had to be 700 then.
Let me see. Yeah,
700th career goal. Against the Devils, I couldn't tell you for crap who
it was against the Devils.
We're beyond Corey Schneider at that point. I think the Devils won 4-3 in overtime or 3-2 in overtime. Damon Severson scored. Damon Severson scored the OTGWG.
Devils won 3-2
in overtime.
Probably.
Yeah. But I couldn't remember if it was so. It was 700. 600 was against the Jets. That makes sense. Frank, he, after scoring in overtime of a 0-0 game yesterday, scored his 800th, and now I don't even know the exact number. Is it 53?
It was 21.
away. I know how many away. I have
53.
Oh, it's 874. 874. He's 20 away from tying the record and 21 from breaking. I know he's not breaking it in your brain while the cameras are rolling. Do you actually do you think there's a shot it's this year?
When do they play the Hawks?
April 1st? Something like that.
That would just be the ultimate shove it up my butt moment if he did it that day.
So, are we done here?
No, we're not done. I'm just saying for the sake of the conversation.
Right, for the sake of the conversation.
You asked me if there. I'm just saying if
for the sake of the conversation, and he's even blown my expectations out of the water. I said November of next year. If it's November of next year, that means he went cold somewhere. Because the fact that he already is over 20 goals and he's 38 years old or 39, however the F, you got it. Like, for the sake of the conversation, if you were him, you would have to assume he plays until it's done.
Well, he's going to empty the tank this year. I mean, like, he's on a pace I don't think anybody was expecting. I feel like nobody could have predicted this, especially after coming back from an injury. He's looked better. I feel like the injuries helped him. Maybe he needed a break.
He did have 15 goals in 18 games before the injury.
And now, how many games has he played since? He's got 6.
I think so. I think it's like 8 games. Yeah. I'm not disagreeing with you.
Also, I don't know if you probably were aware of this, that I kind of want to touch on. He broke another record in that game. For scoring on the most goaltenders in NHL history.
Oh yeah, I did. I saw the list.
179 different goaltenders. He passed Jágr. He was tied with Jágr with the most goaltenders scored. And also, that was his 13th career overtime goal on the road, I think. No, it was either his 13th career on the road or 13th total, but he passed Jágr and Tavares for the most in NHL history. And it was his first time in his career scoring in OT in a 1-0 game, which I thought was pretty interesting.
That's
there was a lot of records, a lot of firsts for Ovi. A lot was going on in that game.
That's nuts.
And of course, the 1-0 goal is him in overtime. Of course.
Yeah. I found this stat amazing. This has nothing to do with Ovechkin, but while it's on my brain, Nico Hischier, Jack Hughes, Austin Matthews, Alexander Ovechkin, Connor Bedard, Patrick Kane, Nathan McKinnon, Uri Slavkovsky, Steven Stamkos, and Connor McDavid all scored a goal yesterday. That has to be, I did not fact check this, but that has to be the most goals scored by number 1 overall picks on the same day of all time.
Yeah.
I mean, I was looking through, I'm like,
that's actually crazy.
What number 1 pick didn't score yesterday? The only ones that played and didn't score were Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Alexis Lafreniere. Sidney Crosby didn't play. The 2 Buffalo Sabres guys, Power and Dahlin were off. Marc-Andre Fleury's a goalie. I'm trying to think of active number 1 picks.
Imagine if he would have scored.
Yeah, I mean, Taylor Hall did not score. Oh, I forgot about Taylor Hall.
Yeah, Taylor Hall.
Taylor Hall, in addition to Lafreniere and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, number 1 overall picks. Lots of goals. Hischier had 2. Matthews had 2. McKinnon had 2. So some of them even had 2.
Yeah, it's got to be a record.
Having number 1 picks, man. Even if they're not McDavid, McDavid's a unicorn. If they're Connor Bedard or if they're Nico Hischier or Jack Hughes, chances are these are guys, winning the lottery helps you. Winning the lottery absolutely helps you. But back to Ovechkin, Frank. So we talked last week, who would you rather have, Patrice Bergeron or Ovechkin? We both agreed Bergeron. Mm-hmm. There's a difference between being a better overall hockey player. When I have kids, they're watching Bergeron videos, Hischier videos, Taves videos. For fun, we'll watch Kane videos and, Pasternak videos and Marner videos. No, you want to watch a guy like that. But Ovechkin, he's a unicorn in the way that he shoots, he scores. I don't know if there'll ever be anything like it again. I've always said, I think this record debate that we've had over the years now, when he got to 800, I was like, that's not even it for me. It's can he get to 1,000? And I still believe he can, because how hard is he going to fall off a cliff when he does? Is he going to go for? He's on pace for like 60. I think he ends in the late 40s, early 50s, which will have the record broken in like late March, early April. Because I goal per game. I don't know about that, but if anyone proves me wrong on that, it's him. But like, why can't he have 30 next year, which will put him in the 935, 936 range? And then, 30 the following year, the second to last year of his contract, and then 20 in his last year in the NHL, 30 or 1,000 goals. It's not out of the realm of possibility at all. I don't know if he wants that. I've heard him say he wants Gretzky's record. And Gretzky's going to follow him around when he gets within 4 goals. I don't know if you heard that.
Yeah, I did.
You might have even been the one to tell me that.
Yeah, I mentioned that last week.
Yeah. But, I mean, what a run. What a run, and we get to watch it. Honestly, it's awesome.
If he gets that close, they're going to do what they did with Aaron Judge, I assume, and like cut in on a power play and stuff like that.
Yeah. I'll be locked into every Capitals game when he's 1 away from tying.
Do you think if he's 1 away, well, no, that's a dumb question. Do you think when he's like 3 or 4 away, every game will be broadcasted? Because if it's 1 away, I feel like they're always going to broadcast it.
I don't know. I think the NHL is going to market the shit out of it because they already kind of are. He's 20 away from tying it. Tying it will be a big deal, but breaking it is when the bench will clear. They'll stop.
It'll be like when LeBron became the all-time points.
It's like an hour.
They stopped it mid-game. They had a celebration.
I think so too. I think that's deserved. I don't think many things are that deserved. 895 goals, man. I think that's worth like both teams coming out, shaking his hand, doing a little presentation of some sort, and then finishing the game after that. Bucci had a funny tweet today, and he didn't intend for it to be funny. I found it funny. Here, I'll find it real quick. He tweeted earlier today, or was it last night? It was either last night or early today. Yeah, 14 hours ago. I want Ovechkin to be tied with Wayne at season's end. Then we have all summer to market opening night 25-26 Penguins at Capitals. I don't know if he has inside information that that's going to be opening night's main game. It wouldn't shock me if he is kind of like secretly revealing that the NHL schedule, it's probably almost done, if not already done. I know they don't release it till around the draft, and they use AI to help with it now and all that, but like, Crosby and Ovechkin matching up on New Year's Day, and then I want one more Winter Classic between them 2 years from now after next year's Florida one.
If he was 50 away, do you think they would have put them in the Winter Classic next year to the chance that he could break it in a Winter Classic?
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. But now if he doesn't have the record broken by next Winter Classic, he got hurt and let me be clear. I used to say if there was like a bad injury, then, I'll change my opinion on him. Now I don't think so. He's playing until it's done, I think now. He's too close. He's 20 goals away. He could go 10-10. He could be a fourth line winger. What is a good fourth liner, score? Back in the day when like the Hawks had a good fourth line, Victor Stahlberg, he'd have like 10 goals, 11 goals. Even now, like Ryan Donato's on the fourth line, he's already past 10 goals.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, and that's on a bad team. It's just been remarkable to watch. And every time he scores, I just shake my head and I think to myself about this show and the legacy that Ovechkin has provided for me.
Listen, I gotta stick by with what I got.
You don't anymore.
I gotta.
You don't anymore. Like, come on, dude.
That'd be a coward thing to do.
No, it would show you have a brain capable of adjusting. What's a take I gave up on quickly? There are lots of them, but I'm trying to think of like a meaty one. I stuck with that Browns take until the end because they missed it by 1 game. They went 9-8, I think. They didn't get to 10 by 1 win.
That was funny.
And one of those losses was that one. I remember the White Sox were playing the playoff game, the blackout game, and they blew it in overtime. I can't remember who they were playing. It might have been the Steelers. If they win that game, my prediction's correct. So, it takes like that where like it'll come down to the last second. Then you're a coward if you back off. But ones where it's just like you predicted the Saints to make the playoffs and they're 2-6, you back off the take. Like, I no longer think they're going to make the playoffs. Ovechkin, I don't think, 150 goals away. I don't think he's going to do it. But now he's 20 goals away and he scores every other game, basically. It's like, yeah, well, now I could probably think
it's because of me, I feel like. I gave him fuel.
Maybe, Frank. Another team from the Metropolitan Division that is incredibly fun to watch for me is the Columbus Blue Jackets. They are 8-2-0 in their last 10. They not only hold the second wild card spot, they hold the first wild card spot in the Eastern Conference right now. They look like a team that will compete for a postseason berth for the rest of the season. I'm not sure if they'll hang on and get it done. I'm not sure if you think they'll hang on and get it done, but it's going to be very fun to watch. And before I let you go, I'll also point out yesterday, the Columbus Blue Jackets and the Detroit Red Wings, who are also 8-2-0 in their last 10 games and one of the hottest teams in the league. We could kind of talk about these two teams together because you might notice both bullet points revolve around them on the sheet. They're going to play in the Stadium Series after the Four Nations face off, and the Detroit versus Ohio or Michigan versus Ohio rivalry is always good. The jerseys, I think both jerseys are sick. I love both of them. And I don't say that very often. Every time they grow on me over time. Right off the bat, I looked at them, I was like, gold. And so we'll see how that goes. But man, especially Columbus with what happened to hockey before the season started, tragedy. What a run.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they started off the year so tragic. But I got to take revolving the Columbus Blue Jackets here. Let me break them down, all right? So the Columbus Blue Jackets, they've been on an absolute tear right now. There you have won 6 in a row. I think you said they're 8-2-0 in their last 10. This isn't a team you want to face right now. They're playing great hockey. Now, I will say a majority of the teams they faced on their 6-game winning streak are below 500. I think the only teams they beat above 500 was the Blues twice. But wins are wins. And like we say, you beat and play who are on your schedule. Still great hockey being played by the Columbus Blue Jackets. Kirill Marchenko has not only been a prolific goal scorer this year, but he has 30 apples as well. We knew this kid could score goals. He's gotten 2 20-goal seasons back-to-back under his belt. We knew he could score goals. But he's already set a career high in points and assists with 45% of the season still left to go. Then you got guys like Dmitry Voronkov. He's second year in the NHL. No sophomore slump for him. He's already reached his rookie stats from last season and has done it in 40 less games played. We're seeing him develop right in front of our eyes. Obviously, guys on defense like Zach Werenski, Damon Severson, ex-Devil, Ivan Provorov have been great defensively. But the one thing that worries me the most about the Columbus Blue Jackets is the goaltending. And that leads me to believe what we're seeing from them is not going to last too much longer. Now, listen, goaltending, their win streak's been great. But I feel like their depth's not too great. Like I said, during this win streak, it's been good enough, but it hasn't really been anything special. So I think what we're seeing out of the Blue Jackets from the points I made, I think this is a team that's playing great hockey at the moment. But I think, and I checked out their schedule, I think in the next 5 to 10 games, we're going to see them fall off a bit. I do not think they're going to hold on to a playoff spot at the end of the year.
I hope you're wrong.
I hope I'm wrong, too. I think it'd be sick to see the Blue Jackets in. Yeah. But just given the facts and kind of like what I've saw in research, I think in the next few games it's going to fall off a little bit.
I think it's fair, and that would really help my favorite team, the New Jersey Devils, because if the Blue Jackets don't make the playoffs, that probably means that it's 3 Metro and 5 Atlantic, because the teams in the Metro below the Blue Jackets, Flyers, Penguins lately.
Yeah.
Who am I forgetting?
And it's funny because those teams you're mentioning are the teams the Blue Jackets beat on their 6-game win streak.
Yeah. Which, you got to win the games on your NHL schedule.
You got to win.
That. Yeah.
Those are the teams you got to beat. But they got a tough upcoming schedule.
They sure do.
Vegas thrown in there, I think.
Yep.
I think they got Utah, who's been playing great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we'll see how that goes for them. I know it's a cog in the Eastern Conference right now too. You got Montreal, who just can't stop losing, and we're going to touch on a certain player on that team in a couple minutes. Or stop winning, I mean to say. Ottawa has been good. I know they lost in overtime to Ovechkin last night, but they've been real good. It's a good bubble over there in the Eastern Conference. And last year, I remember watching, and there were like a bunch of teams begging to not make that final wild card spot. They all just kept losing down the stretch, and it's like, well, one of these teams is going to get in. And then Washington got in with the worst goal differential a playoff team has ever had, and then they got smoked by the Rangers in the first round. This year, it's like 5 or 6 teams competing for that spot, and they keep winning their way back and forth. And it's like, I'm excited to see one of these two teams make the playoffs. If you're the President's Trophy, maybe you're a little nervous playing against the Detroit Red Wings in the first round, or the Columbus Blue Jackets in the first round, or the Montreal Canadiens in the first round. It's crazy, man. I'm excited. And speaking of Detroit, former Blackhawk legend Patrick Kane is one of the hottest players in the NHL, and I believe he leads the league in scoring since Todd McClellan took over as their head coach. If he's not one, he's in the top 5.
Yeah, I always like to see Kaner playing well. This is great. He really played a big role in the game versus the Blackhawks that they beat the Hawks, and Kaner had 3 assists. 3 assists that really played into the goal being scored. They weren't any fluky assists. They were primary good leading to a goal assist. He started out the season very slow, Kaner. At 36 years old, Patrick Kane has given the Red Wings all they could ask for, really. I mean, you may disagree with me, but if I'm a Red Wings fan, I know Patrick Kane isn't Chicago Blackhawks prime Patrick Kane. If he could get me 20 to 25 goals and 60 points for Patrick Kane, I can't complain. He's not there to be the main components of your core. He's there to help develop some of these young guys on the team, give them his experience and insights to try and make the team better. He's not there to be the all-star. Patrick Kane, he's right now is playing some of the best stretch of hockey in a Red Wings uniform we've seen so far. And that's you can't ask for much more.
Yeah, and they're like using him to like cut all their promotions lately. They didn't use him for the Stadium Series, but like every game photo they have has something to do with Patrick Kane on it. Dylan Larkin is, I've talked about Dylan Larkin a lot on this podcast. He's Portillo's. He's just not Portillo's. I love Portillo's too. He's just good at everything. He's not the best at anything. I can't think of a menu item at Portillo's that it's the best version of it, but it's just damn good.
There's only one thing at Portillo's that I think is the best, but it's not really a menu item. And
what is
for
it?
me, it's the
honey mustard. And I think their honey mustard is disgusting.
I know. So does Joey. I'm in the minority there. I love it.
No, but are you though? Because like they wouldn't use it if you were. Like they would figure out a new honey mustard situation if like everyone.
Nobody else says it's like the best.
Well, because it's a different style, and it doesn't
thick.
It doesn't remind me of honey mustard. It's very Dijon-y.
Yeah.
It's like a Dijon honey mustard. So that's why I think when people name their favorite honey mustards, it just doesn't come to their mind because it's not a prototypical honey mustard. But Dylan Larkin's honey mustard, I can't even think of what his honey mustard is. He scores, he creates.
It's not the best.
Fast. His what?
Is his speed the honey mustard? It's not the best, but to some people maybe.
Dude, Dylan Larkin won the speed competition.
No, I know. That's why I'm saying that. But he may not be the fastest right now, is what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
But to some people, it might be the best. Maybe that's his honey mustard. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I get what you're saying.
I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, totally. He's just damn good. And then Moritz Seider, if the 2019 NHL draft, my hot take from that draft was that the Blackhawks should draft Bowen Byram 3rd overall. That proved to be a little bit right. Bowen Byram went to Colorado and was amazing. And they won the Stanley Cup because they had 4 top paired defensemen, Makar, Byram, Devin Taves, and Sam Girard. Mm-hmm. And then Colorado realized they needed a second line center. Well, the only way they were able to do that was by trading one of their D. They chose Byram. He goes to Buffalo. He's been good. Fits in well there. Yeah. I know the team stinks, but that's not his fault. But in reality, in that draft, though, the Hawks should have drafted Moritz Seider 3rd overall.
That would have been sick.
I think he's the third best player from that
He's
draft.
incredible.
Maybe even the second best player from that draft. I know Jack Hughes is one and would go one 1,000 times over. But after that, Capo Caco, Kirby Doc, Alex Turcotte, Dylan Cousins is in the conversation, I would say. And it's funny because me and our guy Tom, love talking hockey with Tom. We were back and forth between Dylan Cousins and Bowen Byram, and they went with frickin' Doc. And both of us would have been better. The Hawks would have been better if they listened to either of us. And you got to remember the Bowen Byram take was pre-Korchinski, pre-Allen, pre-Del Mastro, pre-Vlasic. They now it's or Levshinov. It wasn't what it is today in terms of their defense.
And Tom is still pro Cousins coming.
Me too. Me too. I've written about it.
It's a very realistic possibility.
Yes, I've put 2 articles on the Hockey News about the Blackhawks trading for Dylan Cousins. One was just like a general, hey, I believe the Blackhawks should trade for Dylan Cousins. And then the second one was like a trade package piece where I like thought of like ways that the Hawks can like get a trade done, like more of like a think piece on like what it might take to get them. I don't think it would be like overly expensive, but I don't think you'd give up nothing for Dylan Cousins either. The 2019 draft is very interesting. It's got a lot of second tier talent. Nobody else from the draft besides Jack Hughes and kind of Moritz Seider and kind of Bowen Byram and sometimes Dylan Cousins 2 years ago for sure, Dylan Cousins. There's a lot of like second line, second pair guys, where every draft there's like multiple like superstars.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Hughes might be the only one who's like a true super duper star from that draft, but there's a lot of good that came from it. And Kirby Doc's playing better with Montreal. Love to see that. And speaking of young players, Frank, the last topic I wanted to talk about in the hockey half of our show today is the Calder Trophy race. Most people 2 months ago, basically at the start of December, right around my birthday, we'll say, people would have said the Calder Trophy is a 2-horse race between Matvei Michkov of the Philadelphia Flyers and Macklin Celebrini of the San Jose Sharks. Now, those guys are still firmly in it. They could absolutely each of them still win it. But Lane Hutson of the Montreal Canadiens is firmly in the conversation now. He has been dynamite for them lately and a huge reason that they are in this Eastern Conference bubble race.
We know my Calder favorite, Matvei Michkov.
Yep.
That's who he was my Calder favorite.
You picked him and I picked Celebrini, and then it looked like we were going to have a year-long battle.
And like you said, when we talked about it last in December around your birthday, we were like, I was like, yeah, I think Matvei's going to win it. He's doing great. He's kind of fallen off as of late, though. So, like, I agree with you 100%. I think it's a nice, tight 2-horse race between Celebrini and Lane Hutson. And I want to believe Michkov can still claw his way to a Calder Trophy, and he could still get there. There's plenty of time left, right? Anything could happen in 40 games. You don't know what happens in 40 games, but I feel like Michkov's kind of out of it now. I lean heavily towards Celebrini for one major reason, right? So Macklin Celebrini, he's missed 12 games this year due to injury, and he still has managed to find his way near the top of all rookie scorers this year. He's got the same amount of points. He's got the same goals and assists as Michkov in 12 less games, or however many less games. Might not be 12 now, but he missed 12 games is what I'm trying to say. I think it's like 9 less games than Michkov at this point. And it got eerily similar vibes to last year with Bedard winning the Calder Trophy, where Bedard missed 14 games last year due to injury, still managed to be dominant in his remaining 68 games, and ended up winning the Calder Trophy. That's kind of what we're seeing, a similar narrative with Macklin Celebrini here. So right now, I'd give the edge to Celebrini, but Lane Hutson has been fantastic, and he could steal it away.
100%. I actually, yeah. And it's funny, they were teammates last year. Celebrini and Hutson on Boston University and had a nice little team there. I think they made it to the Frozen Four and lost in the first round. But not technically like the third round, but the semifinals they lost in. It's been great to watch. The NHL every year now, every year there's multiple rookies that come in, and we got a lot of guys who go over to Europe for a couple years, develop there a little bit, and then they come in and compete for the Calder Trophy with some of the guys who come in at 18, because those guys were a little bit ahead in their development. The Connor Bedards, the Macklin Celebrinis. I would say Bedard's race was a little closer than people think last year. I mean, he won it, and he was always going to win it. But Brock Faber came close, and then people even loved Luke Hughes, who came in third. So it's one of those things where like every year we're just going to get a new surplus of awesome rookies in the NHL, and I'm excited about it this year. I really don't care who wins. I know I predicted Celebrini, but I really don't like. I like all these guys, and I want all of them to do well. And then thinking about what next year's Calder Trophy race might look like is insane. But I think even like 4 or 5 years ago, a guy like Will Smith would be in the conversation, and he's been good. He's been real good, but like you almost have to be better than real good to win the Calder Trophy these days with the way talent is coming into the NHL.
Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong, dude. These rookies, they're getting better and better every year. I feel like. Yep. Maybe that's just the way. Like maybe just hockey's evolving, and it's just kind of playing into that. It's a different game nowadays. So
it's getting younger and younger.
Yeah, I mean maybe that's the case, but we got some good ones this year. I'm excited to see if Michkov could make a push in the second half. I don't know if he'll be able to. I want to think that he can, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
I feel like he's on the outs.
Lane's on the best team, and he's a defenseman. So putting up that many points, putting up the points total of like a good second line winger from the back end, and he's running the power play now, and he just looks so confident and poised with the puck every time I see him play. I've been trying to tune into Montreal a little bit more lately, so I've been, so I can like have a good like accurate opinion on him, not just from stuff I read on the Twitter sphere. And I recently saw him play in person a couple weekends ago. Montreal was in. Might have been a weekday, I don't remember. But, seeing him play in person kind of sparked my interest a little bit too. And, yeah, Montreal's got a good one. Stop overlooking supremely skilled short guys. I mean, how did his brother fall to the second round a year later, and he comes to the World Juniors, and he kept up with Zeev Buyum and Axel Sandin Pellikka in the conversation for best defenseman in the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what are we doing here? And now he's just going to go to Washington with Leonard, and he's a little bit different than Lane. He's a little more two-way. I see more like a Jared Spurgeon in him rather than like a Lane who is very Quinn Hughesy. Maybe not as good, we'll see, but that style.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I think of Jared Spurgeon when I watch Lane or Cole Hudson, and I'm like, this guy's going to be a superstar too. And make no mistake about how good Spurgeon actually is. Like, Jared Spurgeon's incredible. And I don't know if he's short of Hall of Fame, but like damn good. We'll see if Lane Hudson kind of, turns into that Norris Trophy caliber guy with Montreal. All right, Frank, we are at about that time where we're going to flip over the conversation a little bit and start talking some foosball. The national championship is Monday, Frank. On our last show, Notre Dame squeaked out a win over the Penn State Nittany Lions. And then the following night, the Ohio State Buckeyes took down the Texas Longhorns in the semifinal to reach the college football national championship. And now Notre Dame will play Ohio State.
I think that's what we both had, right?
That is what we both had. What are your thoughts on that?
Interesting matchup. These are two teams that have benefited from the improved 12-team playoff format, number 8 and number 7. I don't know what your take is, if you think the top 4 would have been the top 4 in a normal year, or if the committee was a little more lenient knowing it was a 12-team playoff. I don't know where I stand. I kind of feel like they were, but I don't know if Ohio State would have made it in a normal year if they would have been ranked higher. They were a 2-loss team. Notre Dame, it's tough because they don't have they're not in a division. They're independent. But what a year it's been in college football. What a playoff it's been. I love the 12-team format. I assume you do as well. I think it was entertaining. We got more college football. I cannot wait to see who will be crowned the national champions. This is the moment I live for college football. I love this. I cannot wait to watch it. I think Ohio State is going to wipe the floor with Notre Dame, to be honest with you, though. Both teams, great defense, which is why the over-under is 45.5. I just think the offense for Ohio State, way, way, way more prolific than Notre Dame. And Notre Dame, they've really just been clawing their way through games thanks to their defense. They got that turnover from Drew Aller that led to the game-winning field goal against Penn State. I mean, their defense is really what's kept them in it. Their defense and offense is going to have to be extremely better to beat Ohio State and Will Howard. I don't know if I trust Riley Leonard against the Ohio State defense. There's just Ohio State's looked like the most complete team all year, really. And when their defense shows up, it shows up. And we've seen that in the playoffs. So I think Ohio State's going to win the national championship.
Yeah. I mean, that's good analysis. I'm just rooting for a good game. I want these teams to be competitive with each other. I know when they played last year, it was one of the best games of the college football season. You might remember Ohio State won it on a late touchdown. I actually watched the game at our place timeout. And Notre Dame had 10 men on the field for defense for the final play of the game. That's crazy. The thing I'm actually more looking forward to is hearing Lou Holtz continue to talk crap about Ohio State from Notre Dame. That's obviously always fun. It's a good rivalry. And Marcus Freeman, head coach of Notre Dame, he went to Ohio State. That's his alma mater. So playing against them, yeah, he's very good. And
he's one of my favorite coaches in college football.
There are rumors he Bears.
I'd be okay with that.
They want to interview him, but they don't want to wait. If I were him, I'd stay at Notre Dame for at least a couple more years.
Really?
Yeah, he's awesome. But I think Ohio State's better. I do. This feels like a year where a better team might not just always win. I don't think the better teams have won every playoff game so far. This year has been weird. There was never one team in college football that stood out as the dominant, which usually happens in most years, even if they don't end up winning the whole thing. It was always just kind of wide open from the start. And because of that, and with a little bit of bias, I'm going to pick the Notre Dame Fighting Irish to win their first college football national championship in a very long time.
How funny would it be if they won it all, knowing that their one loss was against NIU?
You heard me mention a little bit of bias. I will be wearing my shirt that I bought at NIU the week after the game that says "No luck needed," and it's got the score and everything. I will be wearing that on Monday. That is my all-time favorite NIU win.
Is that their biggest win? No.
In the regular season.
Georgia was one, right?
They beat Alabama. That was in 2003. And Alabama was a 3-loss team. That was back when number 1 played number 2 in the national championship. It wasn't this. I think that year got their coach fired and they hired Nick Saban, if I remember correctly. And then you know what happened when he took over.
Well, yeah.
But it's right there with Alabama, and then they lost to Ohio State by 3 or by 7 in 2015. Which is funny because that's who Notre Dame is playing. But it's going to be a very good game. I'm looking forward to it. I'm treating it like the Huskies are playing in a way. Because if they win the national championship, and NIU for the first time in program history has the national championships beat in the regular season, that would just be magnificent. I think that'd be so good for the program. And how many times is NIU going to be mentioned during the broadcast? They brought them up 4 times during the game against Penn State. I'm aiming for 5. I want the broadcasters to bring up NIU 5 times.
They might even show highlights from that game.
Yeah, they really might. And my favorite part about that game, it's not like when Marshall beat Notre Dame last year, where there was just a lot of bad luck that kind of went against Notre Dame. NIU beat Notre Dame. All of the underlying statistics show that NIU went to South Bend and beat them. They outgained them. They outrushed them. They outpassed them. They outscored them. There wasn't a gimmick fumble that was returned the other way for a late lucky touchdown. There wasn't a blocked field goal or one that double doinked. They were the better team from start to finish in the game. And that is what makes me so proud of that win for NIU.
And that's what worries me about Riley Leonard, though. If he has a goose egg like that, because he really hasn't looked great in the postseason.
Not that good.
He's not. I don't understand. They squeak by. Their defense is good, which is why I lean Ohio State, because their offense and defense has been good.
That's fair. That's fair.
Riley Leonard, I like the kid. I want to like him. I like what he's doing. I like that, but it's like
every post-game interview makes me angry, though. Every single one. Every single one. People could probably figure out why. He's just very overboard with a lot of things. Oh, yeah, but I want him to win. I want him to win for Notre Dame, the great school of Notre Dame.
I mean, it's possible. It's a championship game. Anything could happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it should be a lot of fun. Frank, let's go through the division round of the NFL. And 6-0 last week. Congratulations.
6-0.
I started 3-0 and I was feeling real good. And then
let's go another 4.
I was the only person in our entire USA Today column to pick Houston.
Really?
Yep.
See, and I was on Houston, because the only reason why the Chargers were favored is because Harbaugh was the coach, and and the Texans were on a little slump, but the Texans are good, and they were home and they got weapons, and
both teams
on the Chargers.
I think there are S quarterbacks in the NFL, and then A. The Texans and the Chargers have A quarterbacks.
They do, and they were getting disrespected, I felt like, at home.
But I'm saying the Chargers also do.
Yeah, I think Justin
Herbert's an A quarterback. I don't think he's an S quarterback. I think there's 4 S quarterbacks, and then there are like 5 or 6 A quarterbacks. He played terrible. Yeah. And the problem now is that's 2 bad playoff games for Herbert. So that's something they got to figure out for him. You need to be an A tier quarterback at minimum to win a Super Bowl. He was a C- D quarterback in his 2 playoff games, maybe even F. But Frank, we'll start with the Texans against the Chiefs, the Houston Texans, Kansas City Chiefs. The money line as of right now, -500 in favor of the Chiefs, +375 for the Texans. The spread is Chiefs 8.5, over under 41.5. What do you got? Who do you think is going to win this game?
Well, here's what's going to happen. The Chiefs are going to win the game, but the Texans are going to make it close. Because once again, we see another big spread in a playoff game. The Chiefs don't cover big spreads. The Texans might have a lead in the second half, maybe even in the fourth quarter, but the Chiefs are going to end up winning the game. They're going to drive down the field, and they're going to get the job done at the end of the day. The Texans just aren't going to go in to Arrowhead and win. I got the Chiefs.
I also got the Chiefs. I agree with what you say about the Chiefs in most cases, even against bad teams. For some reason, though, I don't feel good about the Texans going into this game. If there was a game that the Chiefs did get like one good playoff win where like they didn't make their fans go freaking crazy at the end, and just kind of like a solid, good win from start to finish, it would be this one. But I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know what I'm talking about, but I do think the Chiefs are going to win this game and host is that 5th straight AFC championship game at Arrowhead?
Probably.
And the only active there's no quarterback in the playoffs that has beaten Mahomes in the playoffs. The only quarterbacks to ever beat Mahomes in the playoffs are Tom Brady, who is the owner of the Raiders now and a Fox Sports analyst, and Joe Burrow, who missed the playoffs because his team decided to play everything other than football in the first month and a half of the season, and their 5-game winning streak at the end of the year wasn't good enough. And I think the Chiefs sat all their players on purpose in the final game of the season to keep the Bengals out of the playoffs, because if the Chiefs won that game, they would have made it. Yeah, I got the Chiefs. Second game, Commanders at Lions. The Lions are -550. The Commanders are +400. Lions -9.5. The over-under is 55.5. Frank, Commanders versus Lions. Who do you got?
I got to go with the Lions here. The experienced Lions, who are so close to making it to a Super Bowl. The Commanders, they got to pay their dues. They're young. Jaden Daniels, He's young. He's got to go through this type of experience. Yeah, you squeaked out the win last week. It wasn't easy. That was a great win. That's a big win for the kid's resume. But to go into Detroit and beat the number 1 seed on the road in a playoff game where this is your first year in the league, I don't see it happening. Doesn't mean I think the Lions are going to go to the Super Bowl. I just don't see them losing at home to the Commanders versus an unexperienced team. So I'm going with the Lions.
I'm also going with the Lions. I think the magic has run out for Washington. I actually picked against them last week. They proved me wrong. And credit to them. It's rare that a team with an offensive line that bad makes it to the playoffs, but it's even more rare that a team with an offensive line that bad wins a playoff game. A team with an offensive line this bad made it to the Super Bowl recently, the Bengals in 2021. Mm-hmm. That offensive line was atrocious, and arguably going up against Aaron Donald and Leonard Floyd and some of the guys that were on Los Angeles at the time is a big reason they lost the Super Bowl to the Rams that year. So for that reason, I'm going with Detroit. I don't think it's going to be close. I think Detroit probably steamrolls them. I would take them and the points. Frank, another one. This one's a little bit harder for me. The Los Angeles Rams playing the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles minus 225, Rams plus 275, Rams plus 225. The spread is Eagles minus six, and the over under is 43.5.
Could you hear me?
No.
Because I'm like frozen. Everything's frozen.
I hear you. I thought you said, did you hear me?
No, we're okay. We're good. Everything was frozen. You were able to hear me though?
Yep.
All right. I think the Rams are getting disrespected here, to be honest with you. I think the Rams are a sleeper to go to the Super Bowl potentially. Got Matthew Stafford, Sean McVay, guys who've been there, done that, won a Super Bowl, know what it takes to get to the Super Bowl. And a lot of people don't like the way the Eagles have been playing. To me, I disagree. Yeah, they haven't been playing great. I do think the Eagles are going to win this game. I had Eagles-Bills in the Super Bowl as a prediction. I think the Eagles, they're underrated. They really are underrated. And, something I love to see is like when the Eagles have 3rd and 1, they take a deep shot because they know the tush push is coming. They got one free shot. And I love that about this team. And I think they will beat the Rams. I do think the Rams are going to keep it close. I wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles win by 1. I think the Rams are highly, highly underrated. But with that being said, I am going to take the Eagles to win this game. I'm going to stick by my prediction.
I'm not confident. In USA Today's column today, I picked the Rams. Mainly because I think if they went to Detroit, if Matthew Stafford had to go back to his old stomping grounds with a Super Bowl appearance on the line, I think that would just be A+ TV on Championship Sunday.
Listen, I'm pulling for the Rams.
Yeah.
I think that'd be sick, but...
Yeah, me too. And Philly, they didn't play that well last week, and they still won. Like, I don't trust that team. And I'm going to keep picking against them until they lose, and then they're probably going to win the Super Bowl. We'll call it the Frankie Ovechkin effect. But like you said, they were on 3rd down the other day, and it was 3rd and 1, and they attempted a big play. I'm like, no other team in the NFL would do this. Like, and Jason Kelce retires, and you think the tush push is going to take a step back. Cam Jurgens is just as good at it from a center perspective for them as, Kelce was. And it's just crazy to see what they do. Happy for them. Good team. But I'm picking the Rams in this one. I think they edge out the Eagles and go to Detroit the following week with a chance to go to the Super Bowl on the line for both Matthew Stafford and his old team, the Detroit Lions. And then, Frank, the final game of the week.
Oh, my God.
Arguably the greatest football game of the season. I'm having a hard time thinking of a game I was excited for as much as this one the entire season so far.
Chiefs was pretty cool.
That was sick, but this is like a chance to go play the Chiefs because we'll know the result of the Chiefs by then. We'll know for sure if they got it done. And by the start of this game, I'm obviously talking about the Baltimore Ravens against the Buffalo Bills. The Ravens are it's a pick-em. It's minus 115 in favor of the Ravens, and the Bills are minus 105. The spread favors the Ravens at -1. The over-under is 51.5. Frank, your second favorite team, third favorite team. I actually think they're your second. If I'll be proven, we'll see what happens if the Steelers ever play the Bills in the playoffs and they both have an equal chance to win.
Oh, I think I root for the Bills.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Even because like last year they played, but the Steelers went in thinking they had no shot, so you were like, it didn't hurt you to say that. Like if the Steelers were as good as the Ravens, and this game was a pick 'em,
I'd probably go Bills. I think.
Frankie's a Bills fan.
They're near the top. BP. I mean,
I think they're near the top for you in all of sports.
They might be. We had that conversation. They're not like the Hawks are number one. Obviously, nothing. No team will ever triumph the Hawks.
Yeah.
And then, the Cubs are number 2, but the Bills, man, they could be 3. They could. They're up there. This is a sweat. This is an absolute sweat. And I think the reason the Ravens are favored in this game is because what we saw week 8. Was it week 8 when the Raven? No, it wasn't week 8. It was like week 4 because I think the Bills were like 3-0. It was very early in the season, and the Ravens completely laid an egg on the Bills. They shit on them. It was bad. 35-10. It was Josh Allen's worst game of the season by far, and the Bills were hot at the moment. I think they were 3-0. I think the Ravens gave them their first loss. They're kind of due for a loss, you could say. I'm going Bills unbiasedly. Really, it is really unbiasedly, no matter what you say. I think the Bills, this is a great revenge game. They've beaten the Chiefs. They've beaten the Lions. They've proved they could beat the best of the best. There's no reason why they can't win here at home. I think this is a revenge game. This is when Josh Allen's at his peak. I think the Bills are going to win it.
It was week 4. The 3-0 Buffalo Bills
Told you.
Lost to the 1-2 Baltimore Ravens. After starting 0-2, this win for the Ravens over the Bills got them back to 500, where they would stay and surpass for the rest of the season. And now they are both meeting each other in the postseason. I think the Buffalo Bills get it done. This is the best Bills team of my lifetime. If it's the best of something in my lifetime, that means it's the best of something in your lifetime because you're younger than me. And I can't recall in my life a Bills team ever being this good, including the ones that were in the AFC Championship game recently. They went to 4 straight Super Bowls in the 90s and lost all of them. This is the best team. And I will say that this is the best Bills team, even if they lose something, if they don't even make it to the Super Bowl, because if they lose to the Ravens on Sunday, I'll still say it was a better Bills team than the one that made it to the AFC Championship game and lost to Mahomes a couple years ago. This is it, man. This is the right to have a ticket to go play the Chiefs. Assuming the Chiefs beat the Texans. It's a big one, and I'm going with the Bills. I think they get it done.
We might have a Bills-Chiefs rematch.
Yep. Either way, we're getting a rematch if the Chiefs win. Because the Ravens played the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game last year. The AFC is going to be pretty much for the next handful of years. It's going to be, can one of the Bengals, because I think the Bengals come out with a vengeance next year, and they have Burrow.
I think they'll be good.
Can one of the and they're the only team to beat Mahomes besides Tom. So they have that on their resume. They will always have that on their resume, and they always have to be considered one of the favorites going into any season. Can one of Burrow, Allen, or Jackson beat Mahomes in the playoff? That is going to be the narrative for at least the next 3 seasons, I think. And, CJ Stroud might have his moment, Justin Herbert, I often go back to my theory about when Tom was the quarterback of the Patriots. He won the Super Bowl 6 times with New England, 7 total, but mixed in there, Stafford got 1, Ben Roethlisberger got 2, Rodgers got 1, Breeze got 1, Manning got 2.
Mm-hmm.
If Mahomes is going to go on to have 6, 7 Super Bowls, that means he didn't get 20 Super Bowls, which means you would think Allen gets 1, Jackson gets 1, Herbert gets 1. Who are the other greats? Maybe Caleb Williams finally gets the Bears out of the doldrums of Chicago sports and gets 1. Whoever's not drafted yet. Maybe Arch Manning comes to the NFL and becomes a superstar, gets 1. But those are things that until they happen, it's hard to see because the Chiefs just don't lose. But this game will give one of these two teams a ticket, and I'm picking the Bills.
Would you be upset kind of a little bit if the Texans upset the Chiefs?
Yes. Not even a little. Not even a little bit.
Because I feel like whoever wins, then Bills Ravens goes to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that one big win over the Chiefs means they're going to beat the Ravens or the Bills.
No, because the Chiefs are beatable. It's just, will anybody be smart enough to?
If Josh Allen could dig deep in the playoffs, he can, because he's proven it in the regular season.
Well, the Chiefs are one of 4 teams to not score 30 points this season. So but the problem is it's hard to score 30 against them because their defense is so good, the Chiefs. So don't worry about the Chiefs right now. You worry about that team in purple, Mr. Bills.
About the Ravens, trust me.
They're damn good. All right, Frank, it's time for America's favorite podcast segment of the week. Breaking Bets.
Where's my money, bitch?
Frank, the floor is yours.
How about that record, VP? Soaring over the 50%.
Absolutely.
It's been a good second half of the year. No, I mean, technically, I'm tweaking because that was for 2024. I should have had a 2025 one. But I have not created the graphic for 2025. But I could easily do that realistically. But for right now, I forgot. But anyway, we're going to stick divisional playoffs for the NFL. All 3 picks will be from the NFL this week, starting with the Texans and Kansas City Chiefs. I like the Texans plus 8.5 at minus 115, bet to win 5 units. We've talked about the Chiefs being big favorites all year. The fact of the matter is the Chiefs know how to win games, but they rarely blow anyone out, especially in the postseason. Texans defense really showed up against the Chargers. They have the weapons to keep this one close. They put up 32 points against the Chargers defense, who have arguably, if not the best, one of the best defenses in the NFL. The Chiefs will obviously find a way to win this game, duh. But I think the Texans will make this a back and forth affair. Keep the final score within a 1-score game. I think 8.5's a lot against the Chiefs. When you're not even a bad team, you're a pretty decent team. So I'll take the 8.5 for the Texans at minus 115, bet to win 5 units. Second matchup, we got the Rams and the Eagles. Another close matchup I see. I like the Rams plus 7.5 at minus 156, bet to win 3 units. The Eagles were my pick to make it to the Super Bowl. No one likes the way they look, but they're another team that just finds ways to win even when they don't look at their best. They're like a diet version of the Chiefs for the NFC. Now, I will say the Rams, they're not to be messed with. They're a Super Bowl sleeper. No one talks about the Rams being a contender, but let's not forget what the Rams did a few years ago. The Rams proved against the Vikings what experience can do for teams in the postseason. And that's the truth for any sport. Experience is king. And with that being said, I think the Rams are being disrespected here. The line opened up at 6. I like to bump it up to 7.5. Take the touchdown and the hook. Whoever ends up winning, it should be a close game. Should be a fun one regardless, but we'll take Rams in 7.5 at minus 156. Bet to win 3 units. What leaves us to the game of the season, potentially. The Baltimore Ravens and the Buffalo Bills. We're going to go with the Buffalo Bills money line, obviously. Minus 105, bet to win 10 units. Ravens opened up as a slight favorite on the road. I get it. The Ravens blew out the Bills 35-10 in their previous meeting this year in the regular season. If you're a fan of this show, you know I love a good revenge game for teams. Bills have a great shot to win the Super Bowl this year, and being able to take them at home at this price is something I love to see. This is being built up as one of the best games of the divisional round and the season. I cannot wait to be dialed into this game, and I hope the Bills bulldoze right over the Ravens. That would be amazing. Bills money line. Let's get it done, Bills.
There you go, Frank. Outstanding picks. I hope you win them all. Go Bills. For me personally, this weekend, big weekend in the sports world. Obviously, 4 playoff games. College football playoff on Monday. The Devils play on Saturday and Sunday during the day. And then Blackhawks versus Golden Knights on Saturday night. If you are at the United Center and see me, say hello. Very excited to see the Golden Knights in person for the first time ever. I'm assuming you'll be watching most of the sports as well. Yep. It's going to be a good weekend. I know we're going to get a little bit warmer here in the next day or two before it gets back to absolutely frigid on Monday again. Yeah.
I haven't been outside today, but it looks beautiful out.
47 degrees outside.
And the sun is shining. I feel like I haven't seen sun in a week.
Yeah, it's 47. Like I've
just been living under clouds, but now the sun is shining bright and it looks beautiful. I'm excited to see what it's like when I get out there. I'm glad you told me it was 40-something degrees because I didn't even know it was that nice, to be honest with you. Yesterday felt like a heat wave.
It did, and today is like.
And today's warmer.
It's way warmer now.
The other day it was like 9. I was shivering.
It's supposed to be 6 on Tuesday, so enjoy it for what it is right now.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, enjoy it for what it is today. Tomorrow, 38, not terrible. Not terrible at all. But it's going to get real cold again early next week, so make sure you're staying warm. Make sure you're always watching hockey. Make sure you're always turning into football as well. And Frank, we will see you next Friday. As always, thank you for listening.